Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Seven Kinds of Mischief. I'm your host, Soam Loki, and with me today is the one, the only, the Doctor of Disaster and Destruction, Adega Outlaw. Greetings, Adega.
Hello! Still waiting on that destruction, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. Team Punk for the win. How are you doing tonight, brother?
Not bad at all. I was just out with my wife a few minutes ago. You're going to see my hometown if you pay attention closely to really weird news, because they set the world's record for the longest single strand of string cheese. We got the world's record just about an hour and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah, I heard all this commotion, so we went downtown, which is just a couple, maybe 50 yards away, and it went almost a quarter mile. Everyone lined up holding this piece of cheese, and then everyone who got some of it, or that was helping out pull out the string, got 4 or 5 feet of cheese. But yeah, so it was kind of fun.
That is crazy.
My little town parties. 1,900 people, and we party.
Man, that sounds awesome. I love string cheese. String cheese is great.
Just a different form of mozzarella. But yeah, things are going good. And today's been kind of a good day on my end, and I wanted to do something a little more fun than I usually do. So I hope you don't mind too much.
No, I don't. I definitely don't. What do you got for us?
Okay. Well, it's still part of the 7 Kinds of Mischief, but it's not going to make you wet your pants or have sleepless night. Well, maybe it might. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I asked Loki to download a video. It comes made by the people at Suspicious Observers. Those of you who are science-minded will be able to follow along. They do high science when it comes to environmental, solar science, galactic sciences. It's a lot of where my book stuff comes from. And the video you're going to see, if those of you who know Children of the Directive, I swear they had heard my book and decided to do this video. It's kind of like a foundation of the directive, for those of you who know it. So anyway, we will start off talking about Mars with a little video as soon as he's ready.
I'm ready. Let me kick it off. Here we go.
Here at the Breakaway Secret Space Society, we've decided to put your minds at ease and let you know what's really going on. We have been on Mars for some time. We have structures and technology you wouldn't believe. We don't need to take ships to and from our new home anymore when we visit Earth to conduct our affairs. We don't get sick, and we age at a fraction of those of you on Earth. While you toil away believing whatever nonsense the governments and media tell you, you are like the greatest reality show for us as we watch from amongst the stars, literally. We are not only given superior treatments and nutrition, but bioamplifying technology and the most advanced suit technology until our geoengineering makes the air breathable up here. We know you may be concerned about our intentions, but rest assured, we know the Earth is fucked, same as you do. We didn't want to be eaten when the chaos begins, and when nature throws her hat in the ring, we figured we'd rather be on the planet prepared to wake up again. We now have a fully working society. We use the base minerals of the planet and the most advanced plasma technologies, hundreds of years beyond what you have on Earth, and they're integrated with the crustal magnetic fields of Mars. We use them to easily transport to and from our orbiting suite, where the pleasures of humanity can still be enjoyed as much as possible for the delicate balance of mind. The automated assistants first unveiled on the suite are now also assisting in the mining and terraforming activities. Truly, there isn't much hard work left for the rest of us to do, but travel to the various sites around the planet. We can see hundreds of sites in a day. And of course, the most haunting for all of our elite guests is the first tragic attempt to send our vast resource haul back to Earth. We now use it as a remote terraforming laboratory. We've brought along top scientists to help us understand how our new world is behaving in light of our geoengineering. We recently also gained the ability to take our pets on walks around the dunes. We really are trying our best to keep our way of life going and to get a head start on the next age. We're going to begin our space interactions immediately after the coming event, and we're making preparations already, including stocking the ancient shelter under the Phobos monolith. As the Phobos portal has recently opened, we are now making careful calculations of orbit, solar wind interactions, surface charging, and elemental deposition, just to make sure our backup plan is rock solid. Why are we telling you this? Because it doesn't matter anymore. We're already up here. Nobody believes you anyway. Nobody listens to you. Good luck when you try to bring this up. But again, we wanted to assure you, humanity will live on, in us, because here at BASSS, we care about the future, just not yours.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Okay, just for later, for confirmation later, I didn't download that until after I found my story tonight. Correct?
That's right.
God,
You did it.
help us. Because I didn't even see that. Adega was like, "You get that video? Did you get that?" And I'm like, "What? What video?" And he's like, "Oh, there. I sent you a video, and I had to get that before we went live, and it was like at the last minute. After, I might add, I found the story for tonight. Absolute insanity."
Well, anyway, you guys can take that and start moving history with that society along for another 900 years, 1,000 years, and you're going to discover what happens with the directive, which basically is that society that they talked about, minus the portals, but everything else is pretty good. With that, I wanted to discuss Mars, some of the things that you may have heard before, some of the things that you may not have, and I think are absolutely fascinating. Some people think are a bunch of hogwash, and other people think it's terrifying. We'll leave it up to you. I have kind of a slideshow. We're going to go in order. We'll talk about each one. All of these pictures come from NASA. NASA tends to delay images now because of things like this that have shown up. One of them is, we'll talk about them as we go along, but these are all real. There are a lot of fakes out there. A lot of fun stuff. This was taken by the little rover when it first went out. Just a rock, they said. To me, it looks like a piece of machinery that was broken off. This is actually taken from quite a distance, but they have very high resolution cameras. Some people say this is a hip bone. I can't think of an animal that would match. And the reason why I say that, because of our animals, is there are a lot of beliefs out there for the people who are into ufology, ancient history, those type of things. Real history, instead of the stuff that they feed us, where the pyramids were tombs for pharaohs, which another time we can get into that. But that looks like no creature that we have. And like I said, one of the theories is that we originated on Mars before their disaster, when their magnetic field failed and they had to come here. So interesting.
And we've got a $2 super chat from Sagadorf9. He says, "I expect to find artifacts." We also, if I still have it up here, yes, I do, have a $2 super chat from the Rookie Critic before the stream ever started. Sorry, I missed that, Rookie Critic. He says, "I wonder what the 8th kind of mischief is."
It's not legal. We don't do that, gentlemen. All right, let's go ahead and move on to another picture. Next one in line. This one we're only going to stop on for a little bit. This picture was taken from quite a distance. It's not very big. Not just the picture, but the artifact that they found. You would think, some of these look like they've been taken from quite a distance away, but it's not. But as you can see, there is a little structure with a hollow tube stuck on top. It is not a natural feature. I can guarantee you that is not a natural feature. Whether it is a piece of broken off machinery that we sent up earlier, or it's an artifact of something else, we don't know. But let's go ahead and move on. Some of these ones we'll spend more time on. Here we go. These are all
the faces.
Faces everywhere. These are all real artifacts. Upper left corner. Some people have said that looks very eerily similar to Aliens, the pilot, or Alien, the pilot, with his helmet. There is I see if I could pronounce it correctly. It's been pronounced several different ways, but paraglia basically is when there are times when you go outside and you look at clouds, and You say, oh, wait, there's an elephant, or hey, look, there's a snake, or I can see my grandmother's butt there. You know, just stuff that your imagination puts in. So an awful lot of times when we see these things, like that supposed helmet, it could be just, it looks so similar to stuff that we already know that that's what it is. However, you could see the rounded back of that helmet. Yeah. That's not normally a common feature in normal rock development, you know, especially with the two holes that look like eye holes, but you don't know. The face that you see immediately next to it on the right, that may or may not be something. It's very precise, but I think, in my honest opinion, that's a manufactured picture. I don't believe that's real. But even if it was, it's still that paraglia. That I don't think that was anything that was manufactured. That is a dome structure. One of these days, if I get to it, I will show you tons of those on the moon. And going on one more, if you think of Egypt and you think of the giant statues that they have at places like, oh, gee, it slips my mind. There's a big temple.
Giza?
No, not Giza. It's Abydos.
Abydos.
Yeah, where they have the body with the head. And imagine that having sat there for thousands of years before the ones that were created in Egypt. That very well could be that. And then again, it could be, again, paraglia. But it looks like with the flat lines on either side of it, the flat chest with the carved and rounded head, it looks like something that was actually manufactured. And again, NASA won't tell you about it, and it's very, very difficult to find these pictures unless you go to, Bing search or something, and then whether or not it's reliable, you never know. The one in the middle left, it's a rock. There's nothing there. People's imagination are telling them that's a skull or something. That's just a rock. I do not know what the one is center right. Not a clue. It came with this group of pictures that I was able to find. There's another image that we're going to see later on that kind of looks like it. This one, let's skip that one. Let's go ahead and down to the bottom. There's the famous face. And we'll save the controversy for that. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later, but that's what set off everyone and why there were certain missions where obvious manipulations of the image was done by NASA, where they go in with high-resolution cameras, and then the image comes in at low resolution and has been manipulated to say, look, there's nothing there. You tell me what they're hiding.
That is actually in one of the first RPG video games I ever played, Final Fantasy II on SNES, which actually Final Fantasy IV in Japan. They actually have that when you go to the moon in that game. They actually have that face on the surface. Right.
This here, they say, is the petrified person. Some say it's their Mars Sasquatch, different things. It's just very, very unusual. It's a image of controversy. Not that it exists, because it does exist. You could find it on the original pictures. And the reason why they're blurry is because these are really, really far off. The powers that be don't want to take them up close. You know, they don't want a controversy. They don't want to have to answer to people that are going to bug them about things. And the bottom, other than the notches in it, those could be normal water rings that happen. They both could have been hit by rolling rocks that came off of a mountainside or something. We don't know. Could have been wind. Some people say that these are artificial structures. Don't know. They're perfect circles, but circles like that, water ripples, lava ripples, they do that. Bubbles, when they burst from lava flows, will do that. So don't know. Have no idea. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next picture. We got some fun stuff ahead.
This one? Oh.
No, we're not going to worry about that one. Not yet. This one bothers me. You can see a perfect round back, and 2 eye holes, a nose hole. It looks like something that resembles a human, or at least a bipedal or a humanoid skull. And I haven't found anything that refutes it. However, there is one little thing. That rock may be 2 rocks, with one in the foreground and one in the background, where the one that looks like the 2 eyes is separate from the other one.
Yeah, right there.
You can see the little gap. But some say that it is one. Some say that it's a mask. I don't know. It bothers me because it looks just too real. But I don't know. It could be just, like I said, the paraglia. We're seeing what we want to see. But most people are pretty adamant on one side or the other. There's very few people like me that say, I don't know. A lot of people want to believe it's actually a skull, because there's a lot of people that believe that we were there. The odd thing about it is you look at the rock closest in the foreground and the one immediately to its right, the smooth surface, almost like this object is sitting in a bowl that had broke and was filled with sand. That just looks too obvious to me, but I don't know. I can't draw any conclusions. It's weird. It's there. We took pictures of it. But all of these things together, it kind of adds up to a picture. Go ahead. This one, people say, is something like a dead horse that petrified. You could see the head up top with the big eyes and the long nose, or a dog, and the spine that was there that became petrified as well. Sometimes rock will do that, but that oddly maintains certain curves. Well, actually opposite. The head would have twisted, but I thought it was
like horns.
Yeah, it does. It does. Like it was, like an antelope or something with a very mobile spine. We don't know. But you can look at the shadow and you could see there are 2 horns. So it's just another one of those anomalies that they find, and they're taken from a distance. And fortunately, some of these images are high enough quality where you could zoom in and get a picture like this to see what was in the background.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it is there. There'll be some people say, oh no, we found this in the desert in Arabia someplace or what have you, but that's not. I can't remember the file name on some of these, but once upon a time I looked them up. They're actually in the series of pictures that came from the rover. On to the next one, please. This is not on Mars. This is on Phobos. Remember that video that they showed the moon? Phobos is one of Mars's moons. That is a monolith among 3 others that are there. You can hear all kinds of excuses of what people are trying to say what this is, but that image does not lie. There is a flat monolith there. How it got there, I don't know. No one knows. But in that video that we showed at the beginning where they said they had a base under the monolith on Phobos, this is what they were talking about. That thing is huge. In perspective, I think it is close to a mile high. If I remember right, it's close to a mile high, straight up. But there's, almost no gravity there. So you have the added advantage of not only being able to engineer in space if that's what it was done, but you have no gravity. Then again, it could be just a perfectly flat surfaced rock that somehow got lodged into the side of the moon like that and casts a 1.5 mile long shadow. All right, let's move on. This is a fun one. Everything that is in gold is colorized. The original picture is just very similar to the color that you see, but the shadows are correct. That center that looks like a globe is pretty much exactly the way the original image was. They call this the Martian Stargate because it looks similar to what we would imagine a Stargate with. Without the colorization, you could see some of those golden areas in the back actually look like staircases. How large it is, I have no idea. I never actually measured it out. But this was partially buried, and this is what they found. This thing, what the bright spots are, those 3 bright spots, the one in the upper left corner and the 2 on the top, I have no idea. They could be image artifacts. But having a square object with a round or spherical center does not occur in nature, especially with the geometrical shapes in perfect right angles behind it and off to its upper left. What it is, I don't know. But I am of the opinion this is artificial, and it existed there for a very, very long time by someone who was there before us. Probably before we were even alive on this planet as humans.
That's amazing.
It is there, though. Minus the colorization, like I said. Now, here we're going back to that one image. There's a couple of these. These are, people call them the worms of Mars. Those of you who know Forty and Barber say, yeah, these are the dune worms. They're massive. And no one knows exactly what they are. Some people have hypothesized that at the collapse of whatever civilization may or may not have been there at the time, these were something like high-speed tunnels where they had shuttles that would go through them. I don't know. But that is another thing that doesn't occur in nature, and it's half buried, like it was a subway system or something that got exposed over time. We don't know. But I wanted to share these with you just to show you some of the things that are out there that are really, really bizarre. And this isn't the only image. There was that one on the very first that we had with the collage that had it. Don't go back to that. That's fine.
Okay.
Because I got another one up ahead. I think the next one should be another image of a different area. Yeah. And see, there's a sphere, and it looks like it branches off into 2 directions, almost like a junction at a railroad station. Like that was a transport tube. That's why people believe that. And those little rib lines were the structural supports, and it's just been collapsing over the eons of its sitting there.
Arwen Avalon asked, where were these taken?
They're on Mars. This was actually done by not by the rover. It's done by an orbiting satellite when they mapped Mars. And the exact location, I don't remember. I used to know. It was something that you can go to NASA, you go with the image number, and you can pull it up and you'll see it. They were there. I haven't checked in a couple of years, so I don't know if they're still there. But yeah, this was readily available to whoever wanted to see it. You can take my word for it, or you can call it a bunch of crap. I don't care either way. But I did find these, and so did a lot of people. They're the ones that alerted to me. This is one of the big ones. This is what excites people about. No, it's more than just that. This is what excites people about Mars. This whole area is called Sedona. There are a ton of geological, and some say archaeological features that are here. There is, and we'll get to, there's a couple of 5-sided pyramids, like that one there, a couple of 2 or 4-sided pyramids. There's one to the far right that's just into view underneath the crater. That's the 5-sided one there. And then go ahead and you circled at the beginning. That was the face. So that gives you a reference of where this is, the face on Mars. These were all found at the time that Mars picture was taken. There is really odd, that's an odd feature that you had there. Not that one specifically. They call that the plateau. Why, I don't know. It's just like any mesa. That doesn't necessarily mean it's anything in particular. Some people think so. But the one, if you want to zero in it, just immediately below that. A lot of people don't look at that, but I think it's really weird. Yeah. A mesa with, those 3 peaks on it. It seems odd. It could be natural. But there's too much here to show that it isn't quite what it all appears. The next image, I think, gives us some more details of what we're talking about. So there's been a lot of people investigating this. They've done mapping out angles, and you see where it says the city to the left. In that, there are 3 pyramids, and we'll see a picture later on. Don't worry about it, but you'll see it where they exactly line up like the pyramids in Giza. Now, there was that one circle image that we saw early on that I said I had no idea what it was. But yeah, that the tholus on the bottom right, the apex tetrahedron, this is something that's very similar to that. And a lot of people say it's artificial just because of the way it's shaped, the angle it is from different structures. But they've been finding all kinds of weird things here. And whether or not it's just all a coincidence, with the mathematical angles, I have no idea. I just know that when you have 3 pyramids lined up that exactly match what is here on Earth, you know that somewhere along the line there was someone who saw what was on Mars, or the people that were there were here. Or it could be just a bunch of hooey. So... but there's a lot. You guys can look it up. There's people have done tons of studies on this, and it's hours worth of fun if you're into this kind of stuff.
Well, we talked once about the pyramids and how they found that tablet, and none of the linguistic experts could decode this tablet.
Right.
It was this mysterious language, and one of the archaeologists gave it to a mathematician. And he said, this is how they were doing advanced mathematics, shorthand advanced mathematics that we have to use supercomputers to do.
Right.
That's incredible.
Right. All right, let's continue on if you don't mind. We're getting close to the end. There they are. Bing, bing, bing. Now, remember, these would be far older than our pyramids of Giza. So they're not going to look exactly well, especially since the planet is prone to massive dust storms. It used to be a lot of volcanic eruptions, but there they are. 3 4-sided pyramids lined up in a row, exactly same distance, same pattern as what matches the belt of Orion, sitting on Mars. Take it or leave it for whatever you think. And we're getting towards the end. This is an image taken from the rover. What is a UFO doing over Mars? This is not the only one. There are lots of these. This image was blown up so you could see it. Some people say, oh wait, there's a little speck, because these are high resolution pictures. And then they zoom in on the speck, and the clarity is enough to where you could see this is a triangular shape. Where else do we see triangles? And some of you have probably seen them around here. The TR-3B, the triangular ships, stuff that we make that no one wants to admit to. And I've seen one. Okay, go ahead. Now this comes to the last one, and probably a lot of you are familiar with this. This is the very last image that the probe that the Soviet Union sent to Mars before it was blown up. There's a couple images. I didn't find the other one for us for tonight, but this is the last one. The one before it caught something glowing in space around it by Phobos. This is a shadow of what was behind it right before it blew up. This thing they imagined when they calculated it out, I shouldn't say imagine, when they calculated it out, is massive, miles long. And after that image came, their probe shattered and was gone. No one explained what it is. The Soviet Union used to think that they had hypotheses, everything from we were out there and decided we didn't want any communists out there and took out their probe, to others thinking that there are aliens there that were protecting their territory. But that is a real image, a real shadow on Mars. So, all right. I don't think I have any other pictures, do I?
Nope. That's it. That is the end.
Well, like I said, I wanted to have a little fun tonight.
You know, if you would have to consider storage, spare parts, food, any kind of generational ship, if there isn't anything like warp drive or anything like that, if there's no way to bend the laws of physics and you'd have to run a ship at the speed of light or close to the speed of light, you're looking at the trip taking years. For you, trips could take hundreds of thousands of years in reality. But you're going to need hydroponics. You're going to need spare parts. You're going to need everything you can imagine to take with you. Anything you could possibly need, you're going to have to take with you. Any kind of ship like that is going to be bigger. You're looking at Star Destroyer big. You're not looking at Star Trek big, because they don't have to worry about food. They can turn energy into food. They can make things simply out of energy on a ship like that. Any ship that's got thousands of people on board is going to be miles long. It's going to be massive. One of the things that I love is the theory of the Dyson sphere. And that's how they'd move.
Right. And there is some rudimentary evidence that they found one of those.
Yes. Yeah.
They're watching that star disappear by unnatural reasons.
Yes.
And this happened millions of years ago, from according to the light.
Yeah. And the fact that something moved counter to what everything else moves.
Right.
They've been watching this. They've been watching that star for years. Nothing ever moved the opposite direction of everything else. And then suddenly something moved in front of the star, blocked out the star, and it was going the wrong way.
Yep.
And planets don't change direction.
No, they all work on a like I said, the magnetic universe, where it's all in a pattern. Even the galaxies move in certain patterns. They found that some of the ancient civilizations had an understanding of this long before we did, which is only recently that our math and computers are sophisticated enough to match what we're finding with our best telescopes, that we move in not just around our sun, not just around our galaxy, but our galaxy moves around a string or a ribbon of galaxies, which moves in a pattern with the gigantic cosmic web, all done by a magnetic universe. And you cannot go against that unless you're applying some other force, meaning something's out there. All right. Let's see what freaked you out about my video.
Oh, man.
Thank you, suspicious observers, for letting us use that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to link my story in here. It is titled The Gift of Mercy. If you want to read along, there is the link. Let's get started. We made a mistake. That is the simple, undeniable truth of the matter, however painful it might be. The flaw was not in our observatories, for those machines were as perfect as we could make. And they showed us only the unfiltered light of truth. The flaw was not in the predictor, for it is a device of pure, infallible logic, turning raw data into meaningful information without the taint of emotion or bias. No, the flaw was within us, the orchestrators of this disaster, the sentinels who thought themselves beyond such failings. We are responsible. Began a short while ago, as these things are measured, less than 6 daily ago, though I suspect our system of measure will mean very little by the time anyone receives this transmission. We detected faint radio signals from a blossoming intelligence 2 to 14 dailies outward from the galactic core as photons travel. At first, crude and unstructured, these leaking broadcasts quickly grew in complexity and strength, as did the messages they carried. Through our observatories, we watched a world of strife and violence, populated by a barbaric race of short-lived, fast-breeding vermin. They were brutal and uncultured things which stabbed and shot and burned each other with no regard for life or purpose. Even their concepts of art spoke of conflict and pain. They divided themselves according to some bizarre cultural patterns and set their every industry to causing death. They terrified us, but we were older and wiser and so very far away. So we did not fret. Then we watched them split the atom and breach the heavens within the breadth of one of their single short generations. It is then that we began to worry. When they began actively transmitting messages and greetings into space, we felt fear and horror. Their transmissions promised peace and camaraderie to any who were listening. But we had watched them for too long to buy into such transparent deceptions. They knew we were out here, and they were coming for us. The orchestrators consulted the predictor, and the output was dire. They would multiply and grow and flood out of their home system like some uncountable tide of devourer worms, consuming all that lay in their path. It might take 6 to 8 delis, but they would destroy us if left unchecked. With aching carapaces, we decided to act, and we sealed our fate. The gift of mercy was 8 to 4 strides long, with a mouth of 2/4 that in diameter, filled with many 4-on-4 weights of machinery, fuel, and ballast. It would push itself up to 2/8 of light speed with its onboard fuel, and then begin to consume interstellar primary element 2 of 2 to feed its unlimited acceleration. It would be traveling at nearly the speed of light when it hit. They would never see it coming. Its launch was a day of mourning, celebration, and reflection. The horror of the act we had committed weighed heavily upon us all. The necessity of our crime did little to comfort us. The gift had barely cleared the outer cometary halo when the mistake was realized. But it was too late. The gift could not be caught, could not be recalled or diverted from its path. The architects and work crews, horrified at the awful power of the thing upon which they labored, had quietly self-terminated in droves, walking unshielded into radiation zones, neglecting proper null pressure safety, or simply ceasing their nutrient consumption until their metabolic functions stopped. The appalling cost in lives had forced the orchestrators to streamline the gift's design and construction. There had been no time for the design or implementation of anything beyond the simple, massive engines and the stabilizing systems. We could only watch in shame and horror as the light of genocide faded into infrared against the dark, distant void. They grew and they changed. In a handful of lifetimes, they abolished war, abandoned their violent tendencies, and turned themselves into the grand purpose of life and art. We watched them remake first themselves and then their world. Their frail, soft bodies gave way to gleaming metals and plastics. They unified their people through an omnipresent communications grid and produced art of such power and emotion, the likes of which the galaxy has never seen before, or again, because of us. They converted their home world into a paradise, and many 10 by 6s of them poured out into the surrounding systems with a rapidity and vigor that we could only envy. With bodies built to survive every environment, from the daylit surface of their innermost world to the atmosphere of their largest gas giant and the cold void in between, they set out to sculpt their system into something beautiful. At first, we thought them simply miners stripping the rocky planets and moons for vital resources. But then we began to see the purpose of their constructions. The artworks carved into every surface and traced across the system in glittering lights and dancing fusion trails. And still, our terrible gift approached. They had less than 2 by 2 daily to see it, following so closely on the tail of its own light. In that time, oh so brief even by their fleeting lives, more than 10 by 10 sentients prepared for death. Lovers exchanged last words, separated by worlds and the tyranny of light speed. Their planet-side engineers worked frantically to build sufficient transmission infrastructure to upload the countless masses with the necessary neural modifications, while those above dumped lifetimes of music and literature from their databanks to make room for passengers. Those lacking the required hardware or the time to acquire it consigned themselves to death, lashed out in fear and pain, or simply went about their lives as best they could under the circumstances. The gift arrived suddenly, the light of its impact visible in our skies, shining bright and cruel, even to the unaugmented ocular receptor. We watched and we wept for our victims. Dead, so many before the light of their doom had even reached us. Many 6x4s of those who had been directly or even tangibly involved in the creation of the gift sealed their spiracles with paste as a final penance for the small roles they had played in this atrocity. The light dimmed, the dust cleared, and our observatories refocused upon the place where their shining blue world had once hung in the void. And we found only dust and the pale gleam of an orphaned moon, wrapped in a thin, burning wisp of atmosphere that had once belonged to its parent. Radiation and relativistic shrapnel had wiped out much of their inner system, and continent-sized chunks of molten rock carried screaming ghosts outward at interstellar escape velocities, damned to wander the great void for an eternity. The damage was apocalyptic, but not complete. From the shadows of the outer worlds, tiny points of light emerged. Thousands of fusion trails of single ships and world ships and everything in between. Many 10 by 6s of survivors in flesh and steel and memory banks ready to rebuild. For a few moments, we felt relief, even joy. And we were filled with the hope that their culture and art would survive the terrible blow we had dealt them. Then came the message, tightly focused at our star, transmitted simultaneously by thousands of their ships. We know you are out there, and we are coming for you.
Oh, my kind of story.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that was very cool.
That is why I was like, holy shit. Adega had me download this, and I'd already picked that story, and I was like, wow, this could be good. This
Well,
is gonna be good.
Those of you who know the directive from my books know that they were just like the video, except they knew where the rest of humanity didn't know, that there were people out there, or creatures out there, and they went out to wipe them out. I won't give you any more because I know you haven't got into it, but sorry. It just did all fits in. It's making me geeked about the things that
yes,
gonna come out for everybody. So
no, I can't wait. I can't
I hope
wait.
you guys had fun tonight.
I had fun. Shit. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good.
I hope the chat had fun. I definitely had fun. I know Adega had fun. You can hear it. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me and Adega. You guys rock. You guys keep these shows going week after week. Thank you so very much. And we will be back. We'll be back next week.
Yeah. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Everyone have a great one. Be excellent to each other. And we will catch you guys next week.